The Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly beyond the cliffs of Palos Verdes. White roses sway in the California breeze. The guest list includes surgeons, attorneys, hospital executives, teachers, nurses, and former Harvard classmates. Chairman Kang sits quietly in the front row. Time has a way of humbling people. Especially when the woman you once considered a distraction becomes one of the most respected young neurosurgeons in the country. Michael stands at the altar in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. For the first time in his life, he looks completely free. Not because he inherited a dynasty, because he built a life. The room fell quiet as the enchanting chords of differences started to play. All eyes turned to the center aisle, where Natalia stood like a vision in a shimmering gold dress. A professional violinist, she poured emotion into the melody, her music setting the perfect stage just as Harper stepped into view at the end of the aisle. The entire ceremony goes silent. She isn't wearing the crown. She isn't a socialite. She isn't old money. She is something far more powerful. She is herself. Michael's eyes immediately fill with tears. Harper, whispering as she reaches him. "You crying already?" Michael replies, "You took too long getting here." The guests laugh. The vows are simple. No grand speeches. No performances. Just two people who spent years choosing each other over and over again. When the officiant finally announces them husband and wife, Michael kisses Harper like he is still that 18-year-old boy standing outside a chemistry lab. And somewhere during the reception, Twisted starts playing. Harper laughs out loud and says sarcastically, "But why?" He replies with a big smile, "You know why?" Fast forward 5 years later. The Kang home overlooks the California coastline. It isn't the biggest house on the hill. It isn't the most expensive. But it is theirs. The walls are lined with family photos, medical awards, law degrees, children's drawings, and reminders that happiness rarely looks the way people expect. A small boy races through the living room carrying a toy stethoscope. Cai Kang. Age 5. Future menace. Future genius. He crashes directly into Michael's legs. "Daddy." "Mommy says I can't perform surgery on the dog." Michael says, "Your mother is correct. But I'm practicing." Before Michael can answer, another tiny voice echoes from upstairs. "Daddy." Michael immediately looks up. Harper smiles and says, "There it is." "There what is?" Michael smirks. "Your weakness." Their daughter appears at the top of the staircase wearing a plastic tiara and a lab coat. Sienna is 3 years old. And she has her father, completely wrapped around her finger. "Carry me, please." "Of course." Harper says, "Babe, she has functioning legs." "Not anymore." Harper watches her husband scoop up their daughter and carry her downstairs like royalty. The former Prince of Seoul doesn't even realize he's smiling. Fast forward 10 years later. The Kang home overlooked the California coastline, just as it always had. The wall still displayed the same family photographs, framed degrees, children's drawings, and memories accumulated over the years. But now, scattered among them were new accomplishments. Fashion magazine covers. Design competition trophies. Photographs from red carpets. Sketches framed like works of art. Most of them belonged to Sienna. Or as everyone called her now, Cece. At 13 years old, Cece Kang had become something of a phenomenon. Fashion blogs called her a prodigy. Industry insiders called her a once-in-a-generation talent. Hollywood stylists competed to borrow her designs. By 10 years old, she had already won national youth design competitions. By 12, actresses were wearing her custom gowns at award shows. Now, at 13, people were openly comparing her to Marc Jacobs. Not because she copied him, because they believed she possessed the same rare ability to see fashion differently than everyone else. Meanwhile, upstairs in his room, Cai Kang stared at a chemistry textbook he hadn't read for 20 minutes. He was 15, and completely miserable. The academy both children attended was the same prestigious school their parents had once attended. Teachers knew their last name. Students knew their last name. Parents knew their last name. Everybody knew their last name. Kang, the son of Harper Kang, the renowned neurosurgeon, the son of Michael Kang, the celebrated attorney. Everywhere Cai went, people expected greatness. The problem was, he had absolutely no idea what greatness looked like for him. At lunch one afternoon, a classmate slid into the seat beside him. "So," the boy said casually, "are you going into medicine like your mom?" Cai shrugged. "I don't know." "What about law?" "I don't know." "Well, what are you good at?" Cai opened his mouth, then closed it, because he genuinely didn't know. Later that evening, across campus, his sister was preparing sketches for a design showcase attended by actual celebrities. Meanwhile, he couldn't answer the question everyone kept asking. What did he want to do with his life? That evening he came home frustrated. He walked through the front door and found Harper reviewing patient notes at the kitchen island. She immediately noticed. "Bad day?" Cai dropped his backpack. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Harper closed her laptop. "Always." Cai hesitated, then finally said it. "What's wrong with me?" Harper blinked. "What do you mean?" "Cece already knows." "Knows what?" "What she wants." His voice cracked. "She's 13, and everybody knows she's a genius." Harper listened quietly. "She has competitions. She has magazine articles. She has celebrities wearing her clothes. People know who she is." He looked down. "And I'm just..." The word stuck. "Nothing." Harper immediately stood. "No." Cai looked up. "No what?" "You are not nothing." "But..." "No." Her voice softened. "Your sister finding her passion early doesn't mean you're behind. It feels like it." Harper wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "Sweetheart, I knew I wanted to be a neurosurgeon when I was 7. Cai blinked. 7. "I was absolutely certain." "That's insane." She laughed. "Probably. But that's me." She squeezed his shoulder. "You are not me. You are Cai. And I love you, my son. I love you too, Mom. One day you will find your purpose." Harper hugged him tightly and asked, "Are you hungry?" Later that night, Michael knocked on Kai's bedroom door. "You awake?" "Yeah." Michael stepped inside carrying 2 sodas. One for him, one for Cai. A father-son tradition. Michael sat on the edge of the bed. "You know your mom was always annoyingly smart." Cai laughed. "Impossible." "That's what I thought too. But she was always the best in school and made sure I knew my place." "God, I love your mother." Cai laughed and said, "Dad, please stop." For a few minutes they sat in comfortable silence. Then Michael finally spoke. "You think I always knew I wanted to become a lawyer?" Cai nodded yes. Michael laughed. "Not even close." That got Kai's attention. "What?" "I had no idea." Michael leaned back. "When I was your age, I changed my mind every 6 months." "Seriously?" "Seriously. I thought about business, architecture, politics, teaching. At one point I wanted to own a restaurant." Cai stared. "You?" "I make excellent ramen." "You absolutely do not." Michael nodded. "Fair." The room grew quiet. Then Michael said something Cai would remember for the rest of his life. "Your mother always knew. Some people do. They find their purpose early." He pointed toward the hallway. "Your sister is one of those people." Then he pointed at Cai. "And some people take longer." Cai looked down. Michael continued. "There is nothing wrong with that." "Nothing. But what if I never figure it out?" Michael smiled. "Son." The word carried years of certainty. "You will." "How do you know?" "Because you're curious. You're kind. You work hard. And you care about people." He leaned forward. "Purpose isn't something you force. It's something you discover." Then Michael added quietly, "The Kang name isn't what makes me proud." Cai frowned. "It isn't." "No. What makes me proud is the people carrying it." His eyes softened. "You. Your sister. That's enough." For the first time in months, Cai felt his chest loosen. The years passed. Cece continued rising. At 15, she launched her first youth collection. At 16, major fashion houses wanted meetings. At 17, she was designing custom gowns for award-winning actresses. Fashion magazines ran headlines calling her the child fashion genius, the next great designer, a visionary talent. Yet despite the attention, she remained exactly who she'd always been. Humble. And the little girl who wore plastic tiaras and her mother's lab coats. And Cai? Cai finally found his thing. Unexpectedly. Not in medicine. Not in law. Not in fashion. It happened during a community outreach project organized by the Academy. Students volunteered to mentor younger children. Most treated it like an assignment. Cai didn't. He loved it. Every minute. Helping kids. Encouraging them. Listening to them. Teaching them. Something clicked. One afternoon, after spending hours helping a struggling student gain confidence, he walked into the Kang home smiling. Harper noticed first. Michael noticed second. Cece noticed third. What? She asked. Cai laughed. I figured it out. The entire family froze. You figured what out? Michael asked. Cai grinned. My thing. Years later, people would know Cece Kang as one of the most influential designers of her generation. But they would also know Cai Kang. Not because he became Harper. Not because he became Michael. Not because he lived up to the family name. But because he became himself. And in the Kang household, that had always been the goal. Not success. Not prestige. Not titles. Happiness. The family photos covering the walls have been telling that story all along. As the California sun disappeared beneath the horizon, the Kang home remained exactly what it had always been. Not a house built on perfection, but on unconditional love. Harper and Michael never measured their children by awards, titles, or expectations. They simply wanted them to become the people they were created to be. And they did. One would change the world through fashion. The other would discover a purpose no one, including himself, ever saw coming. But those are stories for another day. If you enjoyed this story, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means more than you know. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Because the Kang family story isn't over. Until next time, thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, and remember, success isn't about becoming someone else's dream. It's about having the courage to become your own. The end.